That's more like it. The last two times I did this, I did that perfectly. And not this time. That's all right. I was due for one that didn't come out good. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy Scoville. This is the Lifeboat. Glad you're on it. Hope you're all having a decent morning. Still not feeling up to snuff 100%, but I'm feeling better than I did. So, first of all, welcome to all the new people on the boat. Met a bunch of them. I had a little time to kill yesterday. Heather did the lifeboats, and I had some time to kill, and linked up with a couple of people that had been trying to get a hold of me and weren't having any luck. Try the sober at my yahoo.com address. People, I don't know. People seem to have a lot better luck getting me there. When people do the ones over on Gmail, they'll tell me that they sent me things and I just don't have them. I mean, there's no timestamp, there's no nothing. But we do pretty good over on sober at myyahoo.com. But if you're here for the first time and you're just meeting us, fantastic. I'm glad everybody's here. I really am. We had a very good day yesterday on the boat in terms of a lot of people coming over, which is awesome. It's really good stuff. So today I want to talk about the reasons we fail. And it's kind of a cool subject because it doesn't really matter what you apply it to. I mean, to be sure, it screams sobriety, but it doesn't matter what you apply it to. This is one of those things that basically plagues everybody. All of us wish we were. Oh damn! There's a reason for these. Supposed to anyway. There we go. That's better. In theory, that's better. All right. I got a 5x5. Everybody hearing me the way I'm hearing you? Or the way I'm hearing me, I guess I should say. Everybody in life would like to be more successful at the things that they do. And to be sure, people in sobriety would like to be a little bit more successful at what they do. Most of us are tired of being addicts. Those of us who are struggling with that. But too oftentimes the scope of what we are trying to do. Thank you, Dennis. Too often the scope of what we're trying to do. We get buried by being intimidated by what we're about to knock out. Yesterday, I answered emails to probably 15 people who were so afraid of the process, not of being sober, of living sober, of all of that, which is really funny because that's the part they ought to be afraid of. But what they're afraid of is the 3 days in some cases, or the 7 days in some cases, or 2 weeks in some cases, depending on how strung out people have gotten. They're so afraid of the of kicking. They're so afraid of the process of actually detoxing that it's keeping people from taking the plunge. And I understand that in a really big way because I was addicted to heroin, and the fear of the 8 days that I was going to be sick, 9 days that I was going to be sick, kept me in the game for decades. And I don't just mean getting high. I mean in the game, because I don't care what your game is. Mine was obviously, epically stupid. If you end up in prison for bank robbery or selling guns or anything, if you end up in prison, period. But if you end up in prison for stupid things, huge things, obviously you've gone off the rails. But for me and for most people, there is a lifestyle that attaches to whatever your addiction is. Whatever your addiction is, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whether it's a habit, but whatever the addiction is, there are things that are attached to it, right? There's a lifestyle that there's no getting away from. when we set out to make changes, it's not enough to say, I'm going to eliminate the bottle, because we get trapped in a lifestyle that we led for so long that if all you remove is the poison, I mean, you're going to save a little money, which is always a bonus, and your health is probably going to improve. That's also a bonus. People will start to respect you a little more. That's probably going to help with your self-esteem. I mean, but for me, I spent 30 years trying to just eliminate heroin from my life. And it didn't work. Ever. Never worked. Not once. And then I tried to learn to live without any chemicals in my life at all. I forgot about the boogeyman that was this substance that was hanging over my life. And instead, I started to take my life apart to figure out why that crap was there in the first place. I tried to start figuring out what it was that this drug did for me, right? Because you spend 3 decades getting high on something, it's doing something for you. And it's funny because I know addicts probably better than I know most things on this planet. And there are going to be a crapload of people who hear this that say today, by the way, there'll be a bunch of people that hear this today that say, there's nothing in my life like that. I like getting high. I mean, that's it. I like getting high. And then I sort of got to a point where I couldn't stop anymore, or I became physically addicted or whatever. I've heard all of them. But they wholeheartedly believe 100% that no, there's no underlying anything. It's simply a matter of they just like getting high. And I believed that. I believed that for a really, really long time. And then I met somebody that explained to me that, what have you got to lose? You've pissed away 30 years of your life. What have you got to lose? Give me 6 months. And it was a pretty good pitch. I mean, I had pissed away, at least 30 years of my life at that point, 33 years of my life or something at that point. No reason whatsoever not to give this guy a shot. I had tried everything else. I had tried this many steps and that many steps, and going to expensive rehabs and going to cheap rehabs and going to state rehabs and going to rehabs in prison, right? I tried all of it. Rapid opiate detox. I tried everything. But I had never tried a concept of truthfully trying to figure out who the hell I am. And another concept that was really foreign to me was this idea of the fact that really incredible things that we think, really incredible things that take place inside our head never leave there. And this was a concept that really messed me up because I do fancy myself a bit of a thinker from time to time. And I remembered, honestly, over the course of 30 years, especially 30 years in that kind of life where you're basically strung out. I wasn't a criminal the entire time. I spent a lot of time as a public speaker. I was the president of a publicly traded company. I did some legitimate things in my life, but drugs were the constant. Throughout every bit of it, I was strung out on drugs. But I hung out with some intellects, and we talked about some amazing things, and there were a lot of things that most people would like to. People would like to fancy themselves thinkers, right? I did. To be sure, I fancied myself a thinker, but ideas get trapped between your left and your right ear. And the way that things work, if you look at the way the average person's memory works, the things that you remember the most and the deepest, and the things that really truthfully ingrain on you the most often are tied to very serious emotional events, emotional highs, emotional lows, right? The day they handed you your child the first time, the day you lost a loved one, a car wreck that you were in that you can still remember every excruciating detail of, or whatever, because we're designed that way. If something either is beautiful or scares the crap out of us, our memory is going to implant that deeper into our dome than anything else, right? But the trivial stuff, the stuff that could be really cool if you got it out of your head, well, those don't have those kind of memory anchors to them. So these good ideas that you have that you don't do anything with, they're not going to come back to you. You're not going to be sitting there having coffee 9 months later and go, I know exactly what I thought, and it was a good idea. Remember that day we were talking about? No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The reason that the majority of people fail at the vast majority of things that they try is because they have absolutely no outlet for the things in their head that could help them. For real. How are you going to quit doing drugs or drinking? Well, I'm going to stop snorting it, right? I'm not laying out any more lines. I'm not putting the powder up my nose. Boom, done, right? No more. Well, that's a hell of a start, right? That'll definitely get you going. That's a start. Okay. This thing right here. The reason people fail at the vast majority of things that they do in their life is because this thing doesn't get put in their hand. And if it does, they don't do the right thing with it. I'm not kidding. This is not psychobabble. This is not pseudoscience. This is just shite that works for everybody. If this were Tommy Scoville saying to you, I got a really good idea, right? Listen to this. This might just work. Then you should run like hell, because I'm a convicted bank robber and right. I went to college in prison. I'm probably not the dude to listen to. Balake, good to see you. I'm probably not the guy to listen to. But I'm not the one that's saying this. Every smart human being in the entire world did this, going back as far as the eye can see, right? That's why we know so much about the people who were so damn big in our history. Because they wrote crap down in journals. They wrote down what their goals were. They wrote down how they intended to get them. And we know crap loads about those people because very often those journals survive to this day. You can read the journals of presidents. You can read the journals of famous people because they wrote things down. They didn't allow things to get trapped and die in our brain. And if you don't believe that thoughts get trapped and die in your brain, I honestly don't have enough time in a 1 hour show to convince you of this. The average person goes, oh, hell yeah. I've had so many fantastic ideas that I couldn't remember a half hour later, much less 2 days later, a week later, 6 months later. It just doesn't work that way. It's not how most people are wired. Some people are. There are rare individuals that don't forget things, right? An oddity to be sure. But for the average person, you need to get it out of your head and onto a piece of paper. So I want to quit drinking. Excellent. Sit down, take a piece of paper. I'm not kidding, right? Sit down, take a piece of paper and write down why you want to quit drinking. Because you start out with the sun shining on you, right? And the noise and all of that. And you are ready to go. You are going to attack the world, right? You heard somebody speak. Seriously, you watch Tony Robbins or you go online and you listen to some Jordan Peterson, right? You listen to somebody talk about sobriety that's going to fire you up and you are ready to kill it. That 6 minutes that you watched has got you ready to take over the world. Sadly, the world is going to take a shot at you the next day too. The kids aren't going to be ready for school, right? Your wife is going to say, your day to take them, right? You need to take the kids today or whatever. You catch every red light on the way to work. Somebody keyed your car. All of the crap that happens to us in the day-to-day life that makes us all human beings, no matter where we live or anything else, that just the usual crap. You stub your toe. The things that are going to happen to you that are going to piss you off. Well, for a really long time, you've been coping with each and every one of those situations with dope. So that video that got you fired up and you're ready to quit, right? But what's going to happen the first time you come up against something? You say, I don't know, Tommy. And there's really no way to know, is there? Well, no, there isn't. But I'd have a contingency plan for exactly what's going to happen when that happens. And you can't plan for every eventuality, right? You can't. How is that possible, right? It isn't. But you could plan for every eventuality on the scale of 1 to 10, because they're not going to be, right? These aren't going to be, things that no one's ever heard of. Whatever comes up against you, I promise has happened in the past, right? To other people, to every addict that ever lived. So we make a little scale on a scale of 1 to 10. And whatever 1 is, put in something silly, because that's what a 1 is. You get pissed off because somebody cuts in front of you at a grocery store, checkout line, and you're in the 10 items or less, and this individual has 15 or 16 in their cart. And when you look at them, they give you this smug look like, what? And if you're a guy, it makes you want to kill him. It probably does if you're a woman too, but I just can't speak to that. But I certainly can speak to a guy, and it makes you want to punch the dude in the head. And something just deep inside men that if you don't do something about it, you're going to feel odd the rest of the day. It's just how we're wired. And now we live in a society where you would never do anything about it. So it leaves you with those kind of, weird feelings. And what happens? We run right back to our drug of choice because it's easy to get fired up. The window for sobriety, that opens and people are ready. Gung-ho. They don't stay that way. And I've been doing this now for a hot minute, and people don't stay that way. That excitement dies really quickly. So you need to get that excitement out of your head. Put it down on a piece of paper. Write down your goals. Write down every single reason you want to be sober so that when the shine is no longer on the concept, when you're no longer fired up about being sober, when you can't even remember Jordan Peterson's video anymore, your thoughts are down on a piece of paper. I want to quit because I don't want my daughter to have a junkie for a father. Right? I was the first one I wrote down. And it's definitely worth writing down everything. I didn't want to disappoint my family anymore. They stood by me through so much BS. I didn't want to disappoint them. I had completely lost my faith in God. And I don't mean that I no longer believe Jesus was Lord. I mean, I just didn't do anything about it at any level. I had just walked away from it. And that's super unhealthy for me, right? For this cat, it's super unhealthy. So all of these things were really out of whack. And by writing down all of the reasons that I wanted to get my shite together, all of a sudden, this wasn't a concept anymore. This was real. This wasn't a dream. See, we dream dreams and they usually park up here. When you're dreaming something, when this dream gets put onto a piece of paper, it becomes a goal, right? So you write down the things that you want. You write down why the hell you don't want to use drugs again. And then the way it was worded when I did this is a little different, but over time it evolves. Imagine there's a omnipotent being, right? You don't have to believe in God. Just imagine there's an omnipotent being. You can imagine a computer if it makes you feel better. But they know every single thing about you, down to every lie you've ever told, down to every single thing you've ever hidden from anybody. And they're going to describe who you are, what you're like. Write that down. The way it was described to me was the 5 or 10 people that know you best in the world are going to have a conversation about you that they know you're never going to hear. And they're going to talk about who you are. What would they say? And I did this. Right? I wrote down liar. I think was the first thing I wrote down. It's probably how I would have been known. Thief was certainly high on the list. I'm sure con man probably would have been worked in there at that point in my life, because just anything I could do to get money to get dope, like anything from anybody. If I had to tell any lie in the world, I would tell it. Plain and simple. I would tell any lie in the world. But that third, when I got done writing down all of the descriptive characteristics that people would say about me, and I assure you, they were unpleasant. Wasn't a whole lot of fun to write down. However, when I was done and I was looking down at this piece of paper, I was heartbroken. Truthfully, heartbroken. Like, this is who I am. And I was working with a mentor. So as I brought the piece of paper back to him, I said, yeah, well, this was friggin' fun. This was a good time. He said, now get a fresh piece of paper and write down what you wish that the person who knew you best on this planet would say about you. Design who you are, which sounds so silly. It really does. I mean, even in hindsight, it sounds silly. But it didn't on day right after writing out that second part of this assignment. It sounded like a beautiful concept. It sounded like hope. It sounded like hope, like I had the ability to maybe restructure myself into someone that wasn't such a piece of shit. And that was kind of a big deal. And I the attributes I wrote down and the things that I hoped people would say, it's worked out pretty well. And it's worked out pretty well because I followed a structure. And you know what's really funny? Nobody wants to hear these. Let me tell you how many shows like this I've done. Right? Since I fired this thing up. Let me tell you how many shows I've done like this. People love to hear stories. People love to hear you clowning around. And I don't mean the diehard crew. I don't mean that you guys. I'm not talking to you guys. You guys agree. A lot of you understand that regardless of what I'm saying anyway, this is, you can come and hang out. But if I leave the nuts and bolts like this out of it, we'll get the view count at like 36. And I start talking about, all right, look, here's what you need to do. Seriously, here's why you're failing. You can watch the view count tank. I've done it. I've done experiments with it. But the thing is, the people that are here need to hear this. The people that stick around and more likely the people that leave. But let me explain something to you. If you're not putting pen to paper on a daily basis, your life is not going to be the life that it was supposed to be. Are you a doctor? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm a guy that effed up my life for 3 decades and watched everybody I knew around me die. And what's amazing is counting myself, there are 3 of us out of the entire group that are left. We all happen to journal, which just seems like an odd coincidence, but we're all 3 sober. Journaling is a huge thing. It really is. And it's a huge thing. I mean, think of it as friggin' witchcraft. How would that be? Think of this as the magic elixir for sobriety. I can use as many illustrations, but there's no way to stress this more importantly than it is. When you go to bed at night, right? When you put your head on your pillow at night, you have unresolved issues from your day, crap loads of them. All of the things that happen during the day, we don't deal with every issue as it happens. We simply can't, right? You're at work and your boss asks you to do something and you're instantly pissed off, right? And it's hard bouncing back from it, right? You get angry and all of a sudden it's just, you're gritting your teeth a little bit and the day starts to snowball, but you don't deal with it. You just do what you have to do, right? You get on to the next task. And then someone says something that's funny and you kind of giggle and you forget about that. But you don't forget about that. Trust me, you don't. If you don't process the things that happen to you during the day as they happen to you, you'll work it out later, whether you like it or not. That's how it works, right? If there's a little microaggressions and angers and things, they're absolutely going to park in your subconscious. Now, the good news is that your subconscious will work those things out while you're asleep. You'll have dreams and your brain will work through some mundane stuff like, someone at work bothering you, all the way to the really heavy stuff, right? Things that happen to you in your youth that have really messed with you. You're going to get through all of those, right? And very often you work through these when you are sound asleep. It's really kind of important. However, there's no set schedule for that either. So you go to bed at 9, you're into the deep, rapid eye movement, sleep, where the dreaming is taking place, right? The good stuff. Let's say that happens a couple hours later, but you only get 5 hours of sleep. When you wake up because an alarm goes off. Well, you didn't check that out with the dream department, right? So there may be a whole crap load of stuff that was right in the projector, getting ready to get shown in Dreamville to help you work out things in your dome. But you didn't get that. So you start your waking day with the other half of your brain, right? Still dealing with all the crap from the night before. And this is how human beings live. And most people who do no journaling ever do this day after day after day. And we are walking around an absolute jumble of unresolved crap from both sides of our life, the conscious and the unconscious side. For real. Start unloading it. Don't leave it there. Take a piece of paper and a pen. Doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be eloquent. It doesn't even have to be anything. It's just this down onto a piece of paper. You take the pen, you start writing. Mine is, so I've gotten to the point for me, for this machine, that I'm good enough at this that sometimes I can journal in 3 or 4 sentences. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 pages. But there are days when everything kind of went well that if I write down 3 or 4 things, I can honestly sit there and go, yeah, that's pretty much it, right? There's not much else I need to get out of my head. I've been doing this now for better than a decade. And it's literally saved my life. And it didn't just get me off dope. It's made me successful in virtually everything I have tried to set my mind to so far. I have achieved some level of success. Am I the world's best at any of them? No, but I didn't fail at any of them either. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a failure. I did not achieve the goals that I had set out to achieve. And I've been a failure my entire life at almost every single thing I ever tried. Every once in a while, if it was right in my wheelhouse, if it was athletics or if it was theater or if it was something that I really enjoyed, but the life stuff, the important stuff, the stuff that actually, is part of the whole living aspect of this time on the planet, coping with people, friendships, relationships, all of the things that make us human. No, I failed at all of them. I also failed at a crap load of businesses, right? I mean, let's face it, I failed at everything. I really did. I failed at everything because I had this anchor around my neck, this addiction. And the addiction, thank God, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, but I thank God that the whole addiction thing happened. I may have been one of those guys that goes through their entire life without ever putting a pen to a piece of paper, right? Had I not screwed up enough to go to prison. There are millions of people, right, who never journal throughout their entire lives. And I promise you, you're losing out on one of the greatest opportunities for success as a human on this planet. It is the greatest avenue for success you are ever going to have as a weapon in your life. You may not see that. I sure as crap didn't see that, but it's a stone cold fact. Well, it's your opinion, Tony. Yeah, no, it is. It's my opinion. Go ahead and research anybody that you care about in terms of looking up to. Anybody that does anything, any successful person, go look up that person and see if they journal. I'll tell you what, I want to put one successful person on the table. I want Kid Rock off the table. Kid Rock might not journal. He looks like the kind of cat that I'm just being funny, but you know what I mean? You'll come across successful people. They're usually not deep thinkers. Very often they're people who, and I'm not saying Kid Rock's not a deep thinker, I'm being funny, but there are people who can be very successful in life and do it because they fell into something that made them very successful. But the people that used their dome, right? The people who used their minds to better the themselves, to better the planet, to better whatever it is that they're working on. The people that rise to the top of any profession, they tend to be people that spend a lot of time writing stuff down in journals. It's a way of manifesting the things that you want in life. If you don't write them down, it's not even real to you. You didn't give a crap enough about your dream to write it down on a piece of paper. I mean, how is that not super obvious? And I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at me. Like, this didn't occur to me. I had to have somebody teach this to me. And what it did for me is friggin' unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and I do things, these crazy concepts like goal setting. Who would have thought? If you write down the things that you really want to get done in life, and then write down what you're willing to do to get them, wow, like it actually happens. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first time I took to journaling about my sobriety, and as importantly or more importantly, journaling about my past, and journaling about going back as far as I could, in terms of memory, and journaling about things that really kind of I saw where in my life, at what point in my life the road kind of took off. I was raised just like my brothers and sisters. None of them ended up robbing banks or breaking the law or being a criminal. It was a very, very different thing for me than everyone else in the family. And the question, becomes why. And the only person that it can answer that question is you. Even if you paid the greatest, psychiatrist or psychologist or counselors or whatever you want to call them, gurus, pay the best guru in the world to find out exactly really what makes you do dope, what makes you tick, what makes you less successful than you want to be in life. What is it, right? Pay the biggest and the best. And you know how they're going to find out? You're going to tell them, right? Trust and believe. That's how they're going to find out. The best in the world in the whole sight game are going to find out because you're going to tell them. So buy yourself a 45-cent notebook the next time you're at Walmart. They do have them right now at 45 cents. No joke. They only have 80 sheets in them, but 45 cents? Like, how do you make something for 45 cents, right? Package it, ship it, put it on a store. Like, how the hell is anybody making $1, right? Selling these things. It makes no sense to me. Really doesn't. That kind of stuff freaks me out. The dollar store that we have here in our country. You walk into the dollar store and you walk around, you're like, everything in this store is $1? How does somebody make this thing? I know that there's got to be a business model in there because I buy things at the dollar store all the time. And I buy things that they can't sell for $1 and make any money. It's got to be like a lost leader to get you in there to sell you helium balloons or something. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get to the bottom of this dollar store thing. Well, I'm not. But if I wanted to, I'd write it down. Seriously, people. It's internet sobriety groups are a hoot. They really are, because what makes this so damn good, right? What makes what we do here so freaking fantastic is that nobody's looking at anybody in the room to see if they're wearing Prada, right? Nobody in the room is looking at anybody to see if they look stoned. Nobody in the room is looking at anybody. Right. The only person that anybody can say anything stupid about is me. Right. And we're cool with that. We really are. That's one that we're cool with. That's a fantastic setup. However, if I was in a room with you, right, that's when you go, all right, do me a favor, whip out that journal. Let's see what you guys wrote last night. Not actually going to read what you wrote. We just want to look to see that it's done. Right. That's usually how this one works. And it gets people who are in inpatient programs or people who work with a mentor that literally wakes them up at their cell at 5 a.m. in the morning and goes, let me see what you got. Right. Which Q did with me for a long time. Look, I'm not going to BS you, man. I blew off journaling. I didn't start out on day one and go, let's do this. I'm ready. I said, this is stupid. Right? That was the part I didn't want to do. It felt like a friggin' homework assignment. I wanted to do the fun parts. Like, where are the fun parts? Right? You said sobriety was fun. Where's the fun part? I don't want to write anything down. That was my mindset. Truthfully, that's where my head was. I have found out a lot about who I am. And it's a freak show. It really is. It's a freak show. Anytime somebody from my past comes across this channel, right? This is something that freaks out every single person that ever met me. Like, this is one of those, honestly, you're doing what? Where's your angle? Right? Are you making a fortune? No, I'm not. Like, you making enough to pay the bills? No, I don't make any money. Like, there's got to be an angle. No, this feels good. Remember that? Where are the good parts? This is my good part. And everybody's going to have their own. Everybody that I've met that got out of addiction has found the passion that completely drives who they are and what they do for the rest of their life. And it doesn't need to occupy every minute of every day. This one kind of does. I'm absolutely cool with that because I really dig it. But it doesn't have to. But there's going to be, I don't want to call it a replacement, but you can think of it as a replacement. Honestly, it's something that's so important to you that, right? You know, if somebody were to offer me a heroin at this juncture of my sobriety, and where I have gotten to, I have something that is building and growing at a rate that is more exciting to me than I'm watching people's lives change. Like, I'm no kidding, watching people's lives change. And I'm watching people's lives change without a single shred of help from me. You know what I mean? In the early days of the lifeboat, I worked with a lot of people one-on-one, and I still do. I'm working with people one-on-one right now. But the boat is getting to the point where the people on it are getting help from the people on it and don't feel the need to reach out to me. I got an email recently from somebody, and it was singing the praises of the lifeboat. And it was about maybe 5 paragraphs long. It was a good long email. And around the 3rd paragraph, there was something about the one-on-one attention. And if you've been on the boat for any length of time, you know I've got a bit of an issue with my brain, right? I've had a diagnosis. I just got a dead spot on my brain, right? So if someone says we had a conversation, or if someone says that they emailed me and they didn't like it, I gaslight the crap out of myself. Not gaslight. I gaslight myself, and I start feeling like I'm insane. And I'm reading this going, one-on-one help. Who the hell is that? I've never spoken to this person. Well, maybe it's Heather, right? So I read down a little further, and no, it's not. They're getting help from somebody else on the boat, which is, that's the dream. I mean, it wasn't the dream in the beginning. It's not what I wrote down when I started the lifeboat. Trust and believe, I did a lot of writing down about this channel before I did it. It wasn't called the Lifeboat in the beginning. It was called the Tommy Scoville Show. Hated the name from day one. So it ended up anyway. But I have my notes of what I wanted the thing to be. Right? That was super important to me. All of the stuff that I had written down. It's nowhere near any of it. I'm not even close. Because what I wanted to do with the lifeboat is not what the people on the lifeboat wanted the lifeboat to be. And fortunately, very early on in the game, I came to realize that was more important. That if everybody on the boat was happy, then we were going to have a channel that people kept coming back to. And if that was the case, then people were going to get clean. Listening to one man's experience and listening to one man's opinions on sobriety it's a great thing. It is. but the rallying point of coming together and being able to feed off of the 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever other people in the chat that are talking to you, right? That's huge. That's absolutely massive. And it is one of those things that makes this really freaking cool. It does. Don't think that there aren't people every single day now walking around talking to people about this, trying to help other people. I know, because those people show up here now and say, I was recommended here by so-and-so. And it's just, right. I used to get really excited. Someone would share the lifeboat with somebody. And every time you people share a video of mine or Heather's, we get a notification. So when somebody shares one, it's exciting as hell. Shares are huge. They're not like, thumbs up. Shares is somebody that really went out of their way to do something to help the boat. And it was they were always the most exciting thing in the world. And you'd get, now they come in huge numbers. And I can't stress this enough. When I say that this is you guys and you really built this, like, that's really what happened. I will, however, take credit for being fortunate enough to be a fan of growing up in Scientology. Because if I hadn't sent him off an email, but I wasn't out trolling looking for collaborations. And don't believe we do that. I do that. I really do. But I had been watching that show for a really long time and never figured that there was going to be any way that the two of us could collaborate, because there wasn't really a drug angle of any kind that I saw. But when the Danny thing came up, it was, that's been great, because it's brought in so many really good people. It's really good people. I mean, look around, a bunch of them. Everybody, you'll see a lot of names. It's like you see the beautiful thing too about you guys. It really, it's off subject, but boy, it warms my heart in a really big way, is that there are people that have been here for a year and a half, and there are people that have been here for 2 months. And if you just showed up today, you would never know which one is which, because this is just they're the most welcoming crew in the entire world. You're instantly like family that's been here forever. I apologize. Oh, so I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is, but I haven't done it in about a week. Out here, we have, around all of the cacti. That's cactus, plural cacti. Around all of the large saguaro cactuses that we have on the property, this green grass grows up. It's actually really kind of beautiful. I didn't realize this, because all I saw was the crappy, nasty, old brown stuff that looks like hay from the cartoons. I described it like the stuff that the little pig made his house out of, right? So when you got a bag full of it, it looks like a starter set for the second or the first little pig's house. Which one built this house of straw? That was the first one, right? Yeah. It's the starter kit for the first little pig's house. But I got to hack all that stuff down, and you got to do it by hand. And when you do, all of that dust and stuff gets up in your schnozzle. I did Navage this morning. Navage needs to sponsor me. So unhappy that Navage doesn't sponsor me. Such a great product. It really is. It washes your nose, man. Everybody should wash their nose. All right. So that, boys and girls, truthfully, it's the simplest of simples, but it's not. And the funniest thing in the world to me, as a recovering addict, not as the host of the lifeboat. Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. But as a recovering addict, to be sure, that the answer to every problem I had in my life was as simple as picking up a pen and a piece of paper. She just tried to roll out of her basket on top of me. That all it was going to take is picking up a pen and a piece of paper. That's it. Starting to write down everything, right? Started out twice a day. That's all it was in the beginning, because that's what Q1 basically demanded of me. If he was going to work with me, I had to do journaling the first thing when I got up in the morning, and I had to do it right before I went to sleep. So I did it. And then I found myself journaling at 2 in the afternoon. And I found myself journaling at 2 in the morning. And then by the grace of whatever you want to believe in, by the grace of God, we had a lockdown, and I didn't have a cellmate. So at the time, and that was just, it's great not having a cellmate, until you get a new one, you have a single cell, it's lovely. But on a lockdown, it's a little bit more of a bummer because there's really nothing to do and no one to talk to. But I was freshly sober, freshly journaling, and we had a 60-day lockdown. And I probably filled up about 6 journals, the little composition notebook things. I just rattled. That's all I did. And I, it started out of boredom, I think. I just started to write a little bit more, and then it just became cathartic, and I started to realize that the more that I wrote, the better I felt. The more that I got these thoughts that had been in my head for 40 years, releasing them, getting them out of my head and onto a piece of paper, absolutely released me from having to deal with these thoughts. Are they still memories? They are. I don't know how to explain it. I guess I'll tell you what, for the people that came over from old growing up in Scientology, it's probably very similar to holding on to the cans and talking to the person across from you, right? It's probably very similar to someone going into confessional. There's something to be said for unburdening yourself. I do it in prayer, but it's a different thing in prayer. I'm talking to God about very specific things. My journal, I cut a vein and I just bleed onto the page. I don't sit down with a goal in mind. I don't sit down thinking, I really want to thank this and I would really like to ask blessing on that. No, it's just, all right, here we go. And I just bleed onto the page. I'm letting whatever is in my head from the day out. I'm letting whatever it is from the night out, right? I want to start the day with a clean dome, and I want to lay down and go to bed with a clean dome. I don't want any of that baggage, because if I have it, it's going to drag me down. It's going to affect either my waking time, or it's going to affect my sleep. Neither of those things appeal to me, right? Sleep is a very big deal to me. And the waking part of my day is usually when I'm trying to help people on this channel. And I really can't afford, to be suffering from toe drag. Hold on one second. Captain, can you confirm if you are going live on Rumble later? Of course, praying, that Rumble cooperates. I am 100% going on Rumble at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock. Last night, I went over to, that's not exactly true. This morning, very, very early in the morning, I went over to Rumble, and I just walked through the setting up of a live stream. And I can't leave it live, which would be lovely, but I can't do that. It doesn't work like that. With Rumble, I couldn't have done that, but it did let me go through. It did let me get all the way to go live. Last time I could set up the whole feed. I had everything ready. I could see your names. And when I said go live, a little drop down thing came from the corner that said, this can't be put through at this time. We'll send you an email to tell you basically when it can. And it was a matter of overcrowding. I'm getting bitten. Ow, 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 ow. Why would you do that? Ow, ow. She doesn't really bite me hard. She just likes to chew on my finger, but she's not really doing anything. She's a good kitty. She really is. I have a theory, and it's funny because a couple of you actually have reached out and sent me messages about this, which I think is hysterically funny. But so yesterday I was over on Growing Up in Scientology with AA Run again. I think about maybe noon or something. Really went downhill pretty quick after that too. I was not feeling very well. I wasn't feeling well when I went on, but I was really not feeling well when it was over. But somebody had made a comment, super chat that said, this is a YouTube violation or an internet violation. You have to show the kitty. And so, I was able to show off Squirrel. I actually showed the cat in the basket, you guys have seen a million times and you probably take for granted at this point. But if it was the first time you've seen it, there's always something pretty funny about the whole cat in the basket thing. And so I was able to do that on Aaron's channel yesterday. And we've gotten more subscribers off of yesterday's video than I think in a shorter period of time than we ever have before. And somebody right after it happened sent me a message that said all of the new subscribers that you're going to get are going to be cat lovers, which I thought was really funny and might be the truth. I hope so, because I trust cat lovers. You can always trust a cat lover because they love cats, which you should have known just by the name cat lover. Think about it. Right? Kind of gives that away, doesn't it? Sorry. Just checking something real quick, people. Every once in a while, this puppy will go off, right? And when it does, I don't know what I'm looking at half the time. It gets quite confusing, which could be rather unfortunate. I'm not very good at the whole. Anyway, I'm trying to get better at this YouTube thing. It was funny. I got an email from Goldie. Goldie is the moderator over on Aaron's channel. Now, let me tell you what happens with our channel. And I'm not being funny. I'm dead serious about this. Our moderators are beasts, right? Like all of our wrenches on this channel. I'm not kidding. They're beasts. I start talking about something or someone starts asking me a question. And before I get 2 words out, contact Captain Tommy at, and Charlie will be up there with my address. Like our moderators are absolute stone cold beasts. You don't see bad things happening in the chats. Our moderators are awesome. So we look hella professional, right? We really do. And then if you showed up in the middle of a live feed and I happen to be having a good day, I might actually sound like I know what I'm doing, right? So people assume I know what I'm doing, and I get these emails from people that say, "Hey, I noticed that you don't use the 3.6 version of the right." I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I am so bad at this YouTube thing that I had to say, I'm really sorry, but I'm not good at YouTube. I have no idea what you're talking about. But if you want to enlighten me, I'm sure I can ask somebody what you're talking about and maybe get it explained to me. I need it broken down. Like, seriously, I need it dumbed down. And I know what it is. It's sad. I can do an entire show on it. I can teach other people about it. I just can't seem to help myself with it. But I'm intimidated by technology. Like I'm massively intimidated by technology, which is sad because I know that if I could, if I had the right person nearby, if I had the right person that was close enough that they could sit down with me and kind of patiently teach me something. But yeah, me doing the self-taught thing, and my college degree. I got my college degree whilst in prison, right? So, and it's from a major university. It's not like I got it from a Cracker Jack box, but I did get it. I did get it while in prison, and none of my education came from that. I mean, if I'm educated at all, it's because I read a lot of books. That was really my education was sort of self-taught and just from reading. But yeah, you can't expect me to come through. I got my, like Aaron says, I grew up in a cult. Don't check me out. I went to university at a United States penitentiary. So, although I did go to SMU, right? The Special Management Unit, class of 2013. Woo! The big house. Sorry, that is the Supermax facility in Pennsylvania, in Lewisburg. But it was a standard joke that guys would say, the term piggyback means that you would write a letter to somebody on the street, and that person would then send that letter to somebody else. That way, the prison doesn't know who you're writing to. You have to be on somebody's approved mail list to, there's all kinds of you can't just write to somebody, right? Depending on the custody level, you have to be on the person's approved mailing list. So the person has to put in a request form. They have to take a look at who you are. So if I want to start writing to somebody in prison, they need to know why, because I'm a federal inmate. They want to know what's up. And so the first time, you got to hop through some hoops. But who is Goldie? I'm sorry. Goldie is the moderator from Growing Up in Scientology. She's the mod over there. But she said she came over here. Well, the first time you come over to our channel, the first thing you're going to see as a moderator is really good moderators, right? I mean, you really are. And you're going to see a chat that moves really quickly, and a guy that sounds like he can, halfway hold a conversation. So you might think we know what we're doing, but I don't know what I'm doing. Rick, she is woman. She is Wonder Woman of all moderators. She's a damn good moderator. She really is. She is a damn good moderator. Of course, I'm kind of partial to the moderators we've got. I would have a hard time saying that she is the world's greatest moderator, because I got some really good ones here. You know what I mean? Like, Charlie's never missed 4 comments on every video I've ever done. I think you'd have to go. You really got to go a long way to be the kind of moderator that Charlie's been since day one. Charlie's really something, and Charlie was doing that before. She's OTS 5. OT 5. Oh no, you didn't. Or is that 15? She's OT 15. Oh, that's even better. That's even better. That's funny. Oh, thanks. Yes, we have the best. Rick, we really do. We have, hey, my moderators, I can't speak to what Goldie's been through, but my moderators, hey, man, there was a day on the boat where they were going like this. Right? I mean, as fast as you could go, they were deleting people. And we had a very concerted and organized attack multiple times on the boat, and these moderators are the best of the best, no question. I mean, I have no problem bragging about my moderators. I really don't. I have no problem whatsoever. I knew you could only go to OT8. That I knew. My mutual friend, our mutual friend, I should say, Aaron and I have a mutual friend, and he's OT8, which I'll be really honest, freaks me out. And I also think that, South Park did a skit on this, which is also kind of funny, but how the hell did LRH or somebody not come back and knock out the rest of the OT levels, right? That just seems to me like shouldn't there be a place down at the local org? They should have their own desk. Like, you're a newcomer, you're coming back for the second or third trip, because my understanding is once you go through Scientology and you sort of you're clear and you've done the OTs and all that. Well, when you get re-implanted in the body, you're going to find your way right down to an org almost instantly, because you're programmed, to come back and do it again, already enlightened, so to speak. So aren't those people walking through the front door every day? Hey, how you been? Just hit 16. Realized I've already done this all before, so I'm back. I had a desk in the corner. Like, shouldn't that happen? The only time I flex my muscles is accidentally. Seventh son. Good stuff. He says, my wrench is honorary. Look at this. It goes right on time. That's it. Just turn off the live feed. She's about to step on the button. Come here, kitty. Oh, everybody. Perfect timing. She went over to the window to watch lizards run across the morning driveway. All right, everybody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and this is a cat that's no longer in the basket. Be a good kitty. All right, people. We'll see you on the next boat. Thanks, Squirrel. Just bite that, would you? Atta girl. Good kid.